Awesome. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Welcome, everybody. You are sitting with us today on Fresno County's Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy Community Opportunity Workshop for years 2025 to 2030. My name is Lauren Nickel. I serve as the Director of Business Services here at the Fresno County Economic Development Corporation. Very excited to have you participating with us today. Got a few housekeeping things we've got to talk through before we get into our program. The main thing to know is that we will not be moderating the chat function on this particular webinar. If you have questions, you can enter them into the Q&A box. When you do so, please make sure that you leave a name, a phone number, or an email address, so that way somebody from the project team can get back in touch with you with your Q&A. We've got a pretty short run of show. We will have some comments from the project team. We will have a short presentation about what a CEDS is, and then we will have a Q&A portion. Should wrap us up right around 5 p.m. With all that said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our president and CEO, Will Oliver, to talk a little bit about this project so far. Take it away, Will.
Great. Thank you so much, Lauren. Good afternoon, everyone. Will Oliver, President and CEO of the Fresno County Economic Development Corporation. We appreciate your participation this afternoon, as it is very important to make sure that our comprehensive economic development strategy is reflective and responsive to both our community and industry's needs. And in order to accomplish that, we must obtain as many ideas and input that's possible. So we thank you for sharing your time today. As Lauren had mentioned, you're going to learn much more about what a CEDS is and how that impacts our work in economic development throughout the county of Fresno. I just want to add too, if you're a business or a nonprofit organization and you're not aware of the Economic Development Corporation or haven't worked with us in the past, please do not hesitate to share your contact information and reach out, as I'm sure there's areas of opportunity to partner, to assist your company with resources to help identify talent for your organization, reduce electricity costs, or whatever your needs may be. So I just want to put that call to action out there too, as we are a business services organization, and we'd love to work with you. We could not make this project possible if it were not for the partnership with the County of Fresno, which we've been working hand in glove and updating this important 5-year planning document. We really value the investment and support that the County of Fresno has put into this process. We absolutely cannot do it without them. So to share a few remarks, I'd like to introduce County Chief Administrative Officer Paul Nerlin to share a few remarks as well in terms of the importance of the CEDS in this planning process. So Paul.
Thank you, Will. Thank you, Lauren, and thank you all for joining this afternoon. When we talk about the county's economic development strategy, it's something that maybe we don't think about enough. But when we talk about what we're doing, not just in this county, but in this valley, I think a lot of times we don't realize just how many opportunities we have here. But what this is a roadmap. It's a plan. But if I could emphasize anything today, it's we need you. We need your feedback. We need your voice. You're going to hear what we're focusing in on when it comes to this project, which includes economic opportunities for everybody in this community. The vision of the county is working together for a quality of life for all, and economic development is critical to that. Workforce development is a key part of that, so we're going to talk about what this plan speaks to in that result as well. Resiliency, and then innovation and sustainability. So I'm excited that you're here, but again, your feedback is the key part of this. This is not a document that's put together just with an entity putting it out to you. It's a community effort. So please share your feedback, tell us your thoughts, and that will make this a living, breathing document that's beneficial to our community. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to hearing more about our team. I want to thank Fresno County EDC and also the partners at TIP Strategies who have helped us in this effort. So thank you very much, and thank you, Lauren.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. Much appreciated. This meeting could not be happening today without the help and support of our media partner, the Business Journal. I would like to introduce Gabriel Dillard to give a few comments about TBJ.
Thank you, Lauren. So the Business Journal, if you don't know, is a fifth generation family publishing company. We were founded here in Fresno in 1886. And our coverage area is Fresno, Kings, Madera, and Tulare counties. We cover everything from technology to real estate, agriculture, retail, small business, and a big thing that we cover is development, economic development. It's probably one of my favorite things to cover because of what it means for the future. As a longtime company, we've dealt with some of the pains of development. I think we've lost property to eminent domain in the past. There's a little bit of pain that sometimes comes with development. Um, and there's also a lot of competition, as from what I could see, just covering it. So we've covered a lot of projects that have come about during the last CEDS document. F3 was one. The Good Jobs Challenge was one. These are major federal investments, I think, in the area of nearly $100 million. And that's the dollars coming to Fresno and Fresno County, which is so exciting. And it's great to see efforts like this that are collaborative in nature, especially for business owners to lend their voice and to just to share what their needs are when it comes to economic development, and workforce development's a big part of that too. So we're very honored to be a media partner in helping spread the word on this process, and I'm excited to see what comes of it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gabe. I'm now going to take some time to introduce it to our partners at TIP Strategies. We have been working on this project with TIP and with the county since about June of this last year, and you're all joining us today while we are in our opportunity phase. With that said, I'm going to hand it over to Jeff, Elizabeth, and Victoria to talk a little bit more about what a CEDS is, the progress of this CEDS, and then where we're going next. Take it away, TIP.
Well, thank you, Lauren, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeff Marcel. I'm a senior partner with TIP Strategies, and today I'm joined by Elizabeth Scott, who's a senior consultant with our firm, as well as Victoria Wilson, who's a consultant with our team. We are so excited to be with you. We are the planning team that has been representing TIP as a part of this effort. Let me share with you what we want to cover today. We're first going to give you just a quick introduction to who TIP Strategies is. Then we'll provide a brief project overview so you have a sense of the process that has taken place over the last several months. We're going to share with you just a little bit of the data that's been compiled, along with our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis. But then, as Lauren said earlier, we're going to use an online polling tool to ask a series of questions to all of you so that we get your input. And then we'll finish by sharing some of the next steps and what you can expect to see over the life of the planning process. So with that, just a quick introduction to TIP Strategies. We're a nationally recognized economic development and workforce development strategic planning firm. Our company is over 30 years old, and during that 30-year history, we've worked in over 400 communities all around the country, helping them analyze what's happening in their local economy and also to develop strategic plans to grow a vibrant and resilient economy. We've done a lot of community economic development strategy plans around the country, including communities like the Indianapolis region in Indiana, the Spokane, Washington area, as well as the Oklahoma City. And just recently, we completed a very similar project for the San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara counties region. This is the project team I introduced earlier, but I do want you to know, while Elizabeth and Victoria and myself have been in the community several times, we actually have over 20 people as a part of TIP that have been weighing in and supporting us as a part of this project. So the entire team at TIP has been involved in this effort, and it's been fantastic getting to know the Fresno region and the leadership in the community. It's been a thrill so far. So with that, I'm actually going to turn it over to Elizabeth to talk about the project.
Thanks, Jeff, and good afternoon, everyone. All right, so I'm going to take you through a little bit of background on the planning project. This is our project goal. Until we have the vision statement for the plan, this is serving as our North Star. This is the summary of what the planning process is about. So we are focusing on the 14 incorporated cities in the Fresno County area, as well as unincorporated areas. This particular planning effort does not include the city of Fresno. However, we're certainly incorporating some of the data, and ultimately this CEDS will help match and align with the CEDS that they already have for that region. As Paul mentioned at the beginning, focusing on economic prosperity for all, resilience, and being able to have sustainable funding for future programs are all things that we are thinking about. I would like to thank our CEDS Strategy Committee. I know there are members of our committee who are on the call today, and would also like to give a special thank you to the EDC and the county teams who we have been working so closely with as the administrators of the project. For a CEDS overview, so what is a CEDS? Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. This is a specific type of planning document created by the Economic Development Administration. It is a 5-year horizon, so we will be looking at short, medium, long-term things for the plan, and we consider this to be a data-informed plan that helps bring together all of the existing strategic planning work and bring it all into one place. The CEDS, has being an EDA requirement, has a number of organizational elements that are required. So we will be compiling a summary background, which includes both qualitative and quantitative analysis. Victoria will give you just a flavor of what we've done on the quant side. Part of the feedback that we get from you all today will go into the qualitative side. Once we have all that knowledge, we'll move that into the SWOT analysis, which really helps guide and inform the action plan. As part of the strategic direction, we will craft a vision statement to help define where the region would like to see their economic future in 10 to 15 years. We will have a number of guiding principles, which are the framework that's woven into each of the strategies and actions and the core values of the community. And then we'll have an evaluation framework that can help monitor so we know how success is being measured for the plan. So there are a number of things. We're often asked what informs the plan, and that comes from what you tell us, what the data tells us, and then also combined with our experience. And Victoria will take it for the planning process from here.
Yeah, we wanted to introduce you a little bit to the planning process that we used for this project. As you see here, we started back in June, and we used a 3-phase process that included a discovery, an opportunity, and an implementation phase. We're currently in February, so we're ending the opportunity phase and beginning the implementation. And so we want to talk you through some of the findings from that first discovery phase, and we're going to start with the data. This here is a screenshot of a custom data tool that our team created specifically for this project. So you see here, we have a bunch of different tabs, and within these tabs, we show data over time. We cross-section it by age, demographic factors, income. There are thousands of data points. This will be available online in the coming months, so you'll be able to peruse it in more depth, but we're going to show you just a few of the slides that we think tell the story. So here we're looking at population from 1990 to 2023. So this is population growth. And as you see, Fresno County in the teal line has grown faster than the United States and California in these past several years. Another thing to point out is that Fresno County counters the narrative that California's population is declining, which it is. You can see it in light gray, but Fresno County continues to grow. Now here we have total employment rates from 2007 to 2023. As you might expect, there's a dip for Fresno County, the state, and the United States during the Great Recession. And then we see that again in 2020. Something to point out here, though, is that Fresno County's dip is much less significant than the countries and even the states. And this is in part due to your really strong agricultural sector and an increased demand for e-commerce. Another thing we looked at were commuting patterns. Here we're trying to establish the regional dynamic and understand potential opportunities for development in the area. Here specifically, we're seeing where workers live. And as we see here, most people who work in the county also live in the county. And those who commute into the county for work usually come in from nearby, like places like Madera City, for example. And similar here, when we look at where residents of Fresno County work, most people who live in Fresno County work in Fresno County, and when they have to leave the county for work, they're also, by and large, going to nearby cities. Here we have employment divided out by industry sector. As you can see here, the strongest industry sector for Fresno County is healthcare, but we also have education, agriculture, retail trade, accommodation and food service, manufacturing are all high up there. And this gives us a sense for what your strong sectors are, but also shows some opportunities for upskilling potentially in some of these sectors that tend to have lower paying jobs like retail trade and food services. And now here we dive a little bit deeper and we're looking at EDA clusters. And what this does here is we're comparing the employment of Fresno County to employment in the nation to see where you have a competitive advantage. So any square that's green indicates that you have a competitive advantage compared to the nation. And unsurprisingly, here at the top, we have agricultural inputs and services, livestock processing, local community and civic organizations, food processing, and so on. So with this information, we're able to establish which are the large and established industries and which are the growing industries, and from there determine the target industries for this project for Fresno County. We have agriculture and food processing, healthcare, heavy manufacturing, and renewable energy. And this last slide here, it shows broadband service in Fresno County, all the different cities within Fresno County, and also a few benchmarks. We have, again, the United States, California, Kern County, Tulare County, and a few others. And what we should take away from this is that Fresno County is kind of middle of the road here. There's some places that perform better, some places that perform worse. But the reason why I wanted to show you this was because this is a great example of when data tells only part of the story, but not the full story. When we did the stakeholder engagement portion of this planning process, we heard again and again how broadband, while technically available, was so expensive in some areas that it was practically inaccessible. And with that, we're going to segue back into the stakeholder engagement discussion.
Thanks, Victoria. So stakeholder engagement, this is the linchpin of our qualitative analysis portion. So, so far we have had roundtable meetings with all of our 14 incorporated cities that are part of the planning project, as well as some additional unincorporated areas like Shaver Lake and Carruthers. In addition to those community meetings, we've held over 22 roundtables and interviews from a variety of different sectors, whether that be higher education, large employers, small employers, a special broadband group across the board. Again, special thank you to our 38 strategy committee members. They have been meeting with us on a monthly basis and have participated in one workshop so far, and still have a handful more of meetings and workshops as we continue to move the project forward. So far, 200 people have engaged with us today, and we did a community survey to help engage the broader community on understanding some of their priorities and economic vision for the region, and that yielded over 600 responses. I think 621 is the actual total. So a really impressive number, which just shows how many people really are engaged and believe in the future of Fresno. I wanted to share one slide with you, and we will ask you all this same question in a few minutes. But when we asked what words best capture your vision for the County of Fresno's economy in the next 10 years, there were a number of things that really stood to the top. All of the responses that you see in that teal color were part of a standardized list of options. The ones in orange were open-ended that anyone could respond. But What really stood out is people were looking and wanting to ensure that the community remains affordable for future generations. They valued the diversity of the people and the industries within the county. Adaptable, accessible, sustainable were all other words that stood out to us here. Collecting these thoughts help us craft the vision statement that we will use to guide the plan. So as I mentioned, we take the quantitative and qualitative analysis, and that all comes together to form the SWOT. And I'm not going to go through every single item in here, but this should really reiterate to you, there'll be a number of things here that Victoria shared when we saw in the data and how that gets reflected here. One of the things that stood out in my mind was originally when we presented this, we had broadband and strengths. And that was one of those things that finding after our interviews that really was more of an opportunity, that there were certainly underserved areas and continued focus really needed to be placed on those. So these are our draft strengths. Weaknesses, when Victoria was going through the employment by sector, we did notice a number of lower wage jobs. So focusing on that as an opportunity for the region, potential weakness. So here are our opportunities, and these will continue to grow and evolve through the next few weeks as we move closer towards the implementation process. I'll also mention that this PowerPoint will be available on that website that Lauren shared with you at the beginning. If you have any comments on the draft SWOT analysis, we welcome that feedback. And lastly, the threats. And so these are all the different things that we will use and incorporate into the plan. You'll notice that we also have these listed by internal, where there's a high degree of control, versus external. Those are the things that the region has less control over, but can help hopefully mitigate and prepare for. And with that, we are going to move into our strategy discussion.
Super. Thank you, Elizabeth. And, as Elizabeth and Victoria have shared, we take the data that we have compiled, but we also take all of the information that's been compiled related to the stakeholder engagement, and we combine that, and that gives us clear sense of direction related to the strategies and actions that have to be identified and incorporated as a part of the plan. So your input is absolutely essential. And so to receive some of your input, we're going to ask now to transition to we have about a dozen questions for the folks who are in the audience. I'm going to ask you to open another tab on your computer or use a smartphone and go to www.menti.com. That's MENTI.com. You see it here on the screen. And once you are there, it'll ask you to enter a code, and that code is 48479332. And don't worry, once we're going to transition to the polling tool, we'll have that code up if you haven't been able to enter it. So with that, let me turn it to Elizabeth to begin the Mentimeter conversation.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, so our Mentimeter poll is open. And we are going to start off. When you think of the county, which word or short phrase do you most associate with the Fresno County region? And again, helping us to understand these words will help us craft our vision statement. It'll help us think about our focus areas for the plan, and may even inform our guiding principles as well.
Excellent. And once again, if anybody's having technical issues, go to MENTI.com, and that code is listed on the top of the screen that you see there, 48479332.
So already Fresno's agriculture strengths coming through with fruit basket, agriculture, even middle of everything. So it looks like we just had a couple more responses come in rapid succession. We're going to pause here for just a few more minutes, let people catch up. I know it takes a little bit longer to get in for that first question. If you have not gotten in yet, there is still time. As Jeff mentioned, we have about 12 questions to take you through. You can join at any time. So diverse, we got a couple more responses coming through. So diverse has emerged as one of our largest, and certainly we saw that in some of our analysis work as well, whether it be the population or the industries of the region. All right, I am going to advance us to our next slide. What do you consider to be Fresno County's region's biggest economic strength? So there are 4 choices here: agriculture industry and the surrounding supply chain, quality of place and livability, geographic locations. So that could be proximity to major markets. It can also be to what we heard a lot of is the incredible outdoor recreational assets for the region, whether it be a few hours from the coast or a few hours to the mountains. Workforce, educational institutions, certainly the presence of Fresno State and community college networks. All right, we'll do 30 more seconds. I am not surprised with the first 2 responses, especially given what we just saw on the previous slide. All right, our next question. What is the biggest challenge Fresno County businesses face? 4 choices here: workforce availability and or skills gap. And when we're thinking about skills gap, it could be that your workers do not have quite the technical expertise needed to operate something. So a good example here is I always think and use welding as an example. Someone may have a welding degree, but might not have the special certification that a business requires or the special welding tool that they have. Infrastructure, this can be everything from transportation, whether it be for goods or workforce, broadband, utilities, business regulations and permitting processes, and the last, access to capital and financial resources. Right. Moving through. Which workforce-related issue is most pressing to your business? So this is ranking attracting and retaining talent, workforce training and upskilling, wraparound resources. So this could be housing, childcare, transportation, and commute times is our 4th option. Great. Right. So attracting talent, retaining talent is coming out towards the top, but close behind wraparound resources. And certainly we heard and saw that in our roundtable meetings as well. Which sector should Fresno County prioritize for future economic growth? Victoria shared with us some of the niche industries that we feel that Fresno County has an opportunity to expand. So ag tech, heavy manufacturing, renewable energy, transportation and logistics, and then agriculture and food processing, certainly very closely aligned with ag tech too. The target industry analysis is one of the CEDS requirements, and this is also a place where the data really shines. When Victoria was showing static images of the tableau. However, on every single screen that she showed, there is a tooltip with your cursor that you can hover over different areas of the map or different areas of the industries that give you full breakdown of sectors and additional job counts and how that has changed longitudinally over time. So it's a really interesting and cool tool to play with. All right. Moving on, what is the most impactful way the CEDS can support economic growth? And this you will be able to respond with a scale for each one of these. So workforce development initiatives, improving infrastructure, investing in the quality of place, and business development services. So on this one, we'll give you a little bit more time to think about as you rate these.
And Elizabeth, you might want to share a little bit about when we say business development services, what are the types of things that we mean?
Absolutely. And Will did a great overview of the EDC. These would certainly be services offered by both the EDC and the county, as well as the individual communities. So that can be everything from permitting and site selection and connecting with other partners and financial resources. Whole gamut. These are all pretty close. I anticipated that that would be the case when putting together the poll and use this tool, because I imagine that they would all be pretty close. So great. Let's move on to the next slide here. How should the CEDS prioritize business development efforts? So we have recruiting new companies to the region, business recruitment, supporting the growth of existing businesses, so business retention and expansion, attracting and supporting high growth startups, and expanding international trade and export opportunities. Okay. The next question, what external factor poses the greatest threat to Fresno County economic growth? So water and or natural resources constraints, economic downturn or market fluctuations, competition from other regions for business investment, or shift in workforce trends and remote work. And if you have just joined us today, please log into menti.com, the code 484793332. Even if you are joining late, you will be able to go through all of the questions at your own pace. We welcome your feedback. So pretty close here between the top two with economic, market fluctuations, as well as natural resources constraints. Competition from other business regions, too. Right. Which investment would have the most significant long-term impact? And this is another one where you will look and rate each different aspect here. So expanding workforce training and apprenticeship programs, enhancing infrastructure and transportation networks, increasing access to business financing and capital, and developing more affordable housing options. Great. Thank you for your responses. I know this one takes a little bit longer, so we'll wait, pause here for another moment. All right. What is the best way for public and private sectors to collaborate on economic development? So the first one, establishing business advisory council. The second, creating public-private investment funds, partnering on workforce development initiatives, and streamlining communication and policy alignments. Right now, partnering on workforce development initiatives is leading, and no surprise at all, given the region's past successes on things like F3 and Good Jobs First Challenge. So much long history already in that space. And our last scales question, how should Fresno County measure success of the CEDS? What do you think about when you think of constituting success for the CEDS, and how should they be measuring the impact? Our last question, what is your vision for the Fresno County's economy in 15 years? So again, this will turn into a word cloud very similar to what we saw for the screenshot from the community survey. And we will help use those words to guide our vision statement and guiding principles for the plan. Resilient and innovative. It's a great first response. Growing, diverse, robust. Equitable, new industries. Great. Stability. Larger companies. Fantastic. Not so ag dependent, some more diverse economic diversification, diversified. Great. Oh. Well, I am going to transition out of the Mentimeter. Thank you, everyone, for your participation here and your feedback. If you are still joining us or still working your way through the questions, we will still receive your response, even though we are closing out of the live responses. If you are in the polling tool, you are welcome to keep moving through those questions. We will still receive your feedback. So as I move us back here to our PowerPoint. We just have one slide left. Just a thank you all today for your participation. I wanted to give you a sense of what the next steps are for the project. Lauren already touched on this already as well, but I wanted to reiterate that in the next few months, we will have a public comment draft of the CEDS document. This will include the SWOT analysis. It will include links to the data. You may see that sooner, but at the very least, that will be included with the draft CEDS. And we really encourage you to read it, submit any comments you have. If there are questions that you would like to take offline for a longer discussion, we absolutely welcome that feedback. So that public comment draft will be coming out later this spring. Period will be open for 30 days, and you will find that on the Fresno CEDS website. As well as I'm sure social media will help spread the word, and you'll receive by participating today. If we have your email address, we can let you know when it's available too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. We are going to transition now into our Q&A session. For housekeeping, again, this chat is not moderated. If you have a question for the TIP team, the county, the EDC, any question at all, you can go ahead and put it into the Q&A section now. Please make sure that you include your email address with it while you do so. I will pause for a moment to let those come in. We have a couple that we received ahead of this that I can kick us off with while you are typing. The first question that we have is, what cities are included in this county CEDS and how was it determined?
I can answer that, Lauren.
Sure thing.
Yeah, so for this planning process, it includes 14 of the County of Fresno cities and unincorporated areas. Not all 15, technically. The city of Fresno in the past has commissioned its own CEDS, and in the past, the County of Fresno has taken the lead for all the remaining areas. And so that's kind of been the precedent here when it comes to the CEDS. So, so the focus of this planning effort will be those 14 cities, the unincorporated areas. However, we have the city of Fresno represented on the strategy committee. We've done a lot of industry and community engagement in the city of Fresno, and we'll make sure that their CEDS document is also complements this document. And will be hosted online as well. So, so really, it's just a technicality. You know, we obviously can't have a County of Fresno-wide planning document without a deep recognition and incorporation of the city of Fresno. So, hopefully that makes sense.
Awesome. Thanks, Will. A second question that we have from before this workshop started is, who is responsible for the implementation of the CEDS once it is approved? I think I can let TIP speak to this a little bit on a broad brush. And then if there's additional comments, Will, you can jump in with that too.
That's a great question. And one of the things one of the elements that's really unique about this CEDS is that it is a multi-implementer plan. This is not a plan for the EDC, for the county. And it differentiates itself. It's not a like a general plan or a comp plan where it's implemented by one individual. We talked and went through a number of different areas that the plan will cover, topics such as business development, workforce development, quality of place initiatives, infrastructure. And for each initiative, there will be a lead assigned to it. I'll let Lauren talk a little bit about how this is going to be a digitally integrated CEDS, which ensures a lot of transparency in the partners that'll be responsible for implementing, and how that is a very dynamic process.
Yeah, definitely. I've been joking with our staff and with our partners through our engagement that this is not your granddad CEDS. Most CEDS documents kind of live in a PDF, and they're accessible on their county's websites. You can look them up. It's the 5-year plan. Here it is. Part of the intention with the design of this CEDS was to have something that is fully digitally integrated. That means it lives online. It is a evergreen document. The conversations that we're having today and throughout the fall are the beginning of this comprehensive economic development strategy. We will convene our strategy committee over the 5 years. We will get together to talk about the changes that have come through on statewide, on a local level, on a federal level, to be nimble and agile as we get down the road with these things. I will share at the very end of everything our planning website for the CEDS. It will transition to become the living document. It will be accessible in multiple languages, and all of that data that Victoria shared earlier in this hour will also live on this website. So if you, your business, your organization, your municipality goes for any kind of public or private funding, this will be accessible to you and you can use it while you develop your own operations. It's something that we here at EDC, and I know the county is very excited about. It's not your granddad CEDS, it's a new way of kind of doing this together. And we're excited to be sitting with this and collaborating with this project team together. Will, I'm not sure if you have any other comments about that, but
No, it's going to be accessible and over the next 5 years updated to reflect our needs and priorities. If we look back over the past 5 years, the world is completely different. And so we want to make sure that it's reflective of um, um, a multitude of priorities and having it online, digitally integrated, so it's accessible to prospective companies, investors, cities who are looking to use this document to secure investment and funds. That's going to be, I think, key to its implementation and accountability in the future.
I think so too. Part of the reason for the robust stakeholder engagement was to say, here's a time to come in and influence this document as it's being written. So when you decide to go apply for a grant or to talk with an investor, you can say, of course, my project is in alignment with my county CEDS. I influenced it while it was being written. We've got another question. What work did the previous county CEDS help accomplish? This is something I'm going to go ahead and let Will speak to a little bit.
Sure. As was mentioned, we've received some pretty large historic federal investments into the region from the Future Food Innovation Initiative, F3, which received $65 million. The need for ag tech and commercialization of new agro-technologies was identified in the previous CEDS. Our Good Jobs Challenge, which is a 4-county, $23 million initiative to train and prepare area residents for in-demand employment. That's industry informed and validated. So in our last CEDS, workforce development, industry informed training was a key priority in that document, and it had to be listed when we sought out those funds. There's also a lot of infrastructure projects that have been identified in the past and funded, which include road improvements, utility improvements. In the city of Sanger, for example, they secured federal EDA funding to help add a water tower to build more water capacity for area businesses. So there's a lot of infrastructure projects that have used these funds, planning projects that have used these sources of funds. They can range from a $50,000 grant to a $5 million grant. And everything in between. So it's important that we identify what those priorities look like, we identify where we need to go as in the future, and so that our cities, the county, our nonprofit organizations, and others can be very competitive and successful in securing those funds.
Awesome. Another question that came in, is this a repeat of the S2J2 Jobs First Initiative or Drive?
That's a great question. It's certainly not a repeat, although TIP Strategies has had a chance to do a formal document review of all those planning efforts to make sure that a lot of those data points are thoughtfully incorporated, especially where they're reinforced with the public engagement that has occurred in this process. But really for this CEDS planning process, we have to make sure that we follow the rubric that the Economic Development Administration has set out, especially when using their funds to carry out this document. So it won't be a repeat, but it'll certainly be a complement to this effort. And I think at the end of the day, we'll have a much stronger document because of all those planning exercises that have occurred in recent years.
Awesome. We do have a question from the Q&A. I did not see social service in the job section. Was this included with healthcare? I'm going to hand that one to TIP.
It's maybe yes or maybe no. It depends on how it's classified. So for the chart, the particular chart that we shared today, if you recall on the side, and here, actually, see if I can bring that chart back up. This is all done based on NAICS code sectors. I'm almost there. And so if we were in the live version, you would be able to hover over this and it would give you additional information about what NAICS codes may be included in this healthcare sector. So it could fall in a number of different areas depending on the classification, the type of business. So certainly some would fall into healthcare. It's possible that others could fall into state government. If it's a state social services, it could fall into local government. If it's part of like local public health, you could also see it in administrative services, personal or other services. So it's that's one of those industries that's very nuanced and could fall in a number of different areas. I am happy to look in the actual Tableau and see if we have that somewhere in a breakdown. If you're interested in providing your contact information, I'm happy to reach back out directly to you.
Awesome. Thank you. I will go ahead and give us another minute or so. If there are other questions or comments that folks who are on the call have, you can go ahead and put it into the Q&A section now. If you would like follow-up on your questions, you can also include an email address. I will pause for that. While we are waiting, I will go ahead and share with you the existing website that we have for the CEDS. You can see the address right up here in the top. This is the spot where we've been kind of giving an overview of everything. You've seen these figures already. Talks about our timeline. Some additional resources about what this project is, slide decks from previous engagements we've had, a little bit about the team, the strategy committee, and then most importantly, getting and staying involved. You are on the Community Opportunity Workshop now. Here is where we did our community vision survey, and this is my contact information. If there are things that come to mind anytime in this process, you are welcome to contact me directly by phone or by email. We are working closely with the county team to make sure that we get a truly comprehensive CEDS that's got lots and lots of feedback. We are in a critical time as we move towards the draft 30-day comment period, but open for your feedback directly there. We do have another question in the chat. Thank you, James. This recording will be available to be sent out. Thank you for sending your email address as well. I will make sure you get it directly. We will also have a link to it on the CEDS website. I will give us one more minute for any additional questions or comments. I'm going to give it until 4:55.
Maybe as we wait for that countdown, I just wanted to again thank everybody for joining us. If there are any additional ideas or thoughts that come to mind, please do not hesitate to reach out to our office, and we will make sure that we include those as part of the opportunity phase. So thank you all once again.
All right, seeing no other questions, I will go ahead and give time now. If Gabe or if TIP would like to give any parting remarks, feel free to do so now.
I'd just like to close by saying how much we appreciate people providing their input. These plans are successful because we receive input from the community. And so we want to make sure that this plan is a reflection of the community conversations that we have. So just once again, appreciate your input and your time. And once again, I also want to thank the EDC team. I want to thank the team at the county as well. They have been outstanding to work with, so greatly appreciated.
Awesome. Last plug here with the website. This is the place where you can kind of come in to plug in and stay connected going forward. As Elizabeth mentioned, the plan is to have this draft available and out for public comment a little bit later in the spring, around the March timeline. So keep a lookout for that in your email inbox and on your socials. From that, it will go to completion in April and approval. And after that, it will not be the last conversation. We will continue to get together throughout the next 5 years to speak about this document as we move towards 2030. Awesome. With that, we're at the end of our official program. Again, thank you so much for your time, for your participation, for your thoughts and your candor. We look forward to connecting with you further for Fresno County's economic resiliency and opportunities in the coming 5 years. Have a great afternoon.